I believe that the fires we're cast upon on the flames we shall become. I believe in a common calling where our temples pray as one. I believe in the word of wonder and a kingdom for the saved.
Pollock, Luke Carroll, coming to you from the Underground Performance Gym podcast. We have special guests on, Leo Mayerhofer. And
what's up?
Today we're going to be talking about some gear protocols, and recently Breon Ansley did a YouTube video talking about his cycle going into the Olympia, and so we're going to listen to what he has to say about that, and then we're going to sort of critique it and give our 2 cents.
All right, let me cue it up.
All right, this one is a different one today. That's for damn sure. This one is about my gear protocol that I used for this past Olympia. You heard it, damn right. My gear protocol that I used for this past Olympia. Some of you might think it's a lot. Some of you might think it's a little. I know it's a little. I always have adopted that idea of less is more, and it has worked. And it has worked, and it will always continue to be that, guys. First things first, let me definitely address, I do blood work, guys, every quarter. So 4 times a year. Make sure that everything is good, everything is in range. And if something is not in range, then we don't move forward with a prep because that puts a lot more stress on the body. And we'll just wait until we get something in range to start a prep. So if we have to miss a show, so be it. If we have to miss the Olympia, which hasn't happened, because we've been on top of things and, you know, everything has been good enough to start a prep, then so be it. But we haven't had to do that at all. And we haven't had to do that actually for any show. So because I don't use a lot. And so on that note, let's jump right into it. Not waste any more time. All right. So the gear protocol for this past Olympia. So we start with Testosterone. All right. I was using 0.5 milliliters Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, guys. So that's 300 milligrams a week. 300 milligrams a week of Testosterone. All right. Then we move to Testosterone propionate. 0.5 milliliters Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that's a total of 300 milligrams of Testosterone propionate per week. Next, we moved to Primobolan inenthate. We used 1 milliliter of Primobolan Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that was a total of 300 milliliters a week. So the theme is 300, as you can see so far, which is very low, guys, very low. And that's all we need to get the damn job done. And then we use a Trenbolone blend of acetate and inenthate. And that was at 0.5 milliliters Monday and Friday. So that it ended up being 200 milliliters a week, because the blend was 100 inenthate, 100 of acetate blend, which adds up to 200. And then we're taking 0.5, right? 0.5, half of a milliliter, which ends up being, like I said, 200 milligrams, 200 milliliters a week of the Trenbolone blend, right? And then last but not least, actually a few things, but not least, a Novadex was at 20 milligrams a day. Every night I would take 20 milligrams of Novadex, and I would take a Arimidex, 0.5 milligrams Monday and Friday. A Arimidex, 0.5 milligrams Monday and Friday, 2 times a week. Also with that, guys, I was on HGH, 4 IUs per day, Monday through Friday. I would take 4 IUs first thing every morning when I wake up, Monday through Friday, weekends off, Saturday, Sunday off. Okay. And then the last 2 weeks, he added in Halotestin. And the first week of the second of the 2 weeks, I started with 20 milligrams of Halotestin before training. And then the last and final week, Olympia week, increased it to 40 milligrams of Halotestin every day before training. All right. And that does it.
All right. That does it. Let me see. Let me jump back to Leo.
I got a bunch of things. I
All
just
right,
wrote
let's-
it down so much.
Yeah, let me. Did he say he took? He said he took 0.5 milliliters of
Cypionate.
Mastron.
Yeah, he said 0.5, but he said it was on. Maybe he was
Then
taking.
he said it's 300 milligrams per week.
Maybe he misspoke. I think he meant to say
Yeah.
300 milligrams because.
Yeah, because propionate comes in 100 milligrams per mil.
Yeah, unless he was taking Mastron and Anthate, but I think he was taking propionate.
I think maybe he was confusing the Testosterone.
He said he was taking 200 milliliters, 200 milligrams. He was all over the place. But
'cause
we'll go off of what he said milligrams wise. We'll say it was 300 test sip, 300 Mastron prop, 300 Primo and Anthate, 200 tren acetate,
And 200 Trenbolone.
and was it? No, I think it was 100 of each.
Yeah, so 200 total.
200 total. Yeah, sorry.
Right.
Okay. Where do you want to start? Let's let Leo weigh in.
So I have a problem with a few half-lives if you want to have really stable levels. Even propionate, if I take propionate, I would do it every day. I mean, some people have faster metabolisms of drugs than others, but I don't know how fast it spikes, but definitely in the first 24 hours already. So I would take propionate every day. Same with acetate. So with the tren, maybe the rest of the plan just doesn't look like it, but it could be used that way if you train in the afternoon of those days and a weak body part or something. And then you could be like, okay, I'll do the tren mix to have an acetate and have a little spike on 2 days and have a lower overall level. I mean, but I don't think that was the idea behind it, because the rest also does look like there was not much thought given into half-lives. If I don't understand why you would take tamoxifen and Arimidex. I would only take an AI.
Yeah, he took that.
I don't know how bad it is, but I just read and heard a bunch of times that tamoxifen is bad for your mitochondria, and I would not do that.
For your cellular
and
health.
It's also, I don't know, you don't have to attack it from both sides. If you block enough estrogen to be formed, then you don't have to block it from docking, because there's nothing that should dock anyways. Mm-hmm. So it's like shooting from both sides when the people are already shot.
I could see maybe the Nolvadex the last week, but I don't think I would run a whole, I don't know what he's talking about, maybe 12-week cycle on Nolvadex and Arimidex and all those DHDs.
Yeah, and I would, for me personally, my metabolism, if I would do that just twice a week, my estrogen would not be stable. It would not be stable. Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, but so I'm pretty sensitive to estrogen, and if I would take an AI twice a week, I rather split it out, almost take it rather every day in microdose in liquid form, or every other day, but sometimes 4 days in between. So I think when you diet down, you want to have everything stable, so you're not why the fuck's my weight up? And if you have hormonal fluctuations like crazy, you be like, do I need to reduce my food, increase my cardio, or is my estrogen up? It's I wouldn't want to gamble on that. So I would like to have, if I diet, I stay stable on everything. So if something happens, I know, okay, I have to change something here, and I know why it happened. So for me, that's bad, and it would also be hard for a coach to then say, yeah. But a lot of people are so gifted,
I was going to say, I think where that Arimidex recommendation came from, that's the TRT clinic recommendation. So maybe that just came from somebody giving him a recommendation from that.
Let me give some comments and insight onto this, because after listening to it and thinking about it, first of all, we already know that tren acetate is way more powerful than an anthate. And so if you're going to run tren acetate during a prep, I don't see any reason to run tren and anthate at all. There's no need for it. And the acetate, like Leo said, it kicks in immediately, and the half-life is like 24 hours. So you're really going to need to take that, several times a week at least, minimum of 3 times a week, to have an effect. And to have the most effect, I would take it pre-workout at least, every time you train. Just break up the dosages into smaller dosages. If he wants a total of 400 milligrams of tren, which I think is maybe overkill, but maybe not.
I think he was taking 200 milligrams.
He was taking
200.
No, he was taking 200 enanthate and 200.
No,
that's what he said.
No, I think he said he was taking.
I think the mix has
the mix had 200, but he was only taking half a cc,
okay.
so only 200 milligrams.
So if
a
you
week.
want 200 milligrams of tren, then break that up into 50 milligram shots 4 days a week at least. Prior to training, I think that would be more effective, and dump the enanthate. There's no reason to take tamoxifen when you're taking an AI like Arimidex. It's like the Arimidex is going to crush your estrogen already down to as low as it's going to get, depending on the dosage that you use.
My coach always says you can only go to 0.
Yeah. So like, what is the tamoxifen going to do? I know the mechanism is different, but it's going to block the receptor, the estrogen at the receptor. But if there is no estrogen because you're taking an AI, then there's no need to put a tamoxifen in there. So I think that's just like waste.
That's what I said by shooting from both sides.
Yeah.
Like if that side kills everyone, like why are you shooting?
Right. So that makes no sense at all. But I know where he got that protocol. That is a protocol that was used probably
Early 2000s.
I'd say
from Sean Ray.
20 years ago.
It was 20 years ago before we really understood this stuff better. And he's just using the same thing that he used back when.
I don't know if tren enanthate existed 20 years ago. I think it was just tren hex at the time. But when tren acetate came out...
No, yeah, it was tren enanthate.
Was it? I thought tren enanthate came out around like 2010.
No, I made that tren in when I had the lab in 2007. They already had that.
Okay.
And I had all 3 esters in there, just again, so I got more milligrams in there.
For anyone wondering, tren enanthate is only developed underground. It hasn't been ever developed by a pharmaceutical company, whereas parabolan, tren hex, and tren acetate were used in parabolan was used in pharmacology, and then also tren acetate, I think it was for a short time, but mostly it's used in animals and livestock.
I'm just not a
Didn't that have some, wasn't that Finaplex or so?
Yeah, Finaplex, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how my first tren I ever got. I ordered a Finaplex and some magic kit.
That's not true. When they developed...
I think there was a tren ace for a little bit.
No, when they developed parabolan back in France, which was a tren hex, they also had tren acetate, and it was called Finaject. And that was back in the 80s.
Yeah. But I think that they maybe the FDA didn't approve it.
It was never approved ever tren here for human use. It was only in France.
Okay.
And it came from France.
Little ampules.
Yeah, it was never all the Finaplex. I mean not the Finaplex, Finaject and the parabolan all came from France.
Was I know
from Serge Dubray.
I know parabolan was 76 milligrams per ampule, right? And then I don't know what tren acetate was.
I believe it was 50 milligrams per mil at the time, but it might have been 100.
Sorry, that was just steroid nerd talk.
I know we had it because I know I was a huge fan of it.
I bet.
And as soon as I got my hands on the tren, the Finaject, I was hooked on that.
Yeah,
that was my go-to back then. Yep. I've changed my views on tren recently, drastically. I think it's super effective. I think it's way overdosed because it's so strong. I think people take way more than they need.
I tend to agree.
Yeah.
And I do think it has more side effects than anything else as far as an anabolic goes. So again, I think people just use way too much of it.
I feel you see an effect, like if you take 20 acetate a day, like 140 a week, you see an effect. And for a lot of people, you can do that without the like sleep problems or sweats and all that stuff. But if like a lot of people, when they run 300 or more, they get all the negative side effects. And I mean, you want to sleep during your prep.
Yeah.
And yeah. And it's like, but people like, who said that? You go and you do a show like a national or whatever, like a pro show, first pro show, and you be like, well, what if I take more? What if I take more? You know, or the other guy's going to take more, and you know, and then you have to be humbled, and you have, you know, or you have a good coach as like nobody.
Yeah, you got to run your own race.
I've experimented with taking 10 milligrams pre-workout 3 or 4 times a week and seen a dramatic effect. Just 10 milligrams of tren acetate. And I've also experienced acid reflux taking 10 milligrams 3 or 4 times a week, which I never have on anything else. So,
you take baking soda? Baking soda is good.
No, I'm just saying I never have acid reflux, and then I take the tren and like.
No, to get rid of it, like, or if you have heartburn,
right?
And if you drink a little baking soda, like obviously a little water, don't make it into a mousse or something.
Probably start burping.
I've never had that, and then I take the tren acetate, and then post workout, I'm like having acid reflux.
Yeah,
where that's the only thing that ever causes that on me ever.
Yeah.
But it does make a big difference. Now I also can say I attribute every single injury I've ever had, major injury, had something to do with
Trenbolone.
Like just you know, maybe coincidentally, but probably not. Just happened
because you overdo it.
Just happened to be running tren, and then I freaking tear something. So there's definitely a correlation there. You know, I end up busting something, you know, and it wasn't always in the gym. I mean, I tore my cruciate tendons fighting in bars when I was a bouncer in nightclubs. I busted this tricep tendon in a street fight, hit it on the cement. But I was on tren, and I busted my tendons. I've torn muscles on, and there was always some tren involved. When I tore my calves, I just, for whatever reason, that workout, I decided to take tren acetate. I think I know. Okay, so I tore my calves on a leg press with like 1,200 pounds, whatever it was. But I think what happened was it wasn't a weight that I had not done before, and I'd done that weight for that many reps, but for some reason, maybe I had just done heavy squats and I went to that heavy leg press, and maybe I was able to push just a few percentages harder, and I blew my calves out on that leg press. So there's definitely a mental component. I know, like, if I take a tren acetate and go work out, I'll get a couple more reps out of a set than I normally would.
More aggression.
Yeah, there's definitely, and it's not something you could get out of a stimulant. It's something different. It's an energetic effect that I could just push a couple more reps out of a set than I normally would have got without it.
So I've never really liked tren and anthate. I've tried it. I just did not get the results of an acetate when I ran it, and I don't see the results anyone else kind of running it. I mean, I think if guys want to do it, maybe in the off season as maybe a compound that they run, I think it will have maybe a little bit lower side effects, but I think it's not going to have as strong of effects as well. As for Breon's cycle, I would definitely change that to just using acetate. 200 is a good dose. I would use it daily. Personally, acetate I think has like up to a 3-day active life, but you want to use it. It was always used every other day, but I mean, just shoot every day. And then if if you're going to be using it in a dosage of a daily dose, if you go down to like 20 milligrams a day, which would end up being 240 milligrams a week. So that's even higher than what Breon is using. So you could like
140.
Sorry, 140. Yeah. So, but I have noticed personally taking 20 milligrams a day, I've taken all different doses. I took my first time taking it, I took 350. This was 2007. I took only tren acetate for my prep. It was my very first show. Didn't have a coach. I had some gym bro guidance from the gym. He told me how to make it, how to take it. That's what I took. It was 350 a week. It was 50 milligrams. Or it was 100 milligrams every other day is what I took.
What about Parabolan? If you don't like enanthate, so you also don't like Parabolan?
I actually liked Parabolan more, but I did not get the sledgehammer hit like I do out of tren acetate. Like you just get that graininess. So I think Parabolan and tren acetate have application in maybe an off-season setting if you're going to use maybe something that's a little bit less like powerful on your central nervous system, maybe keeping your dosages more realistic in an off-season setting. Say you instead of using like 700 or 800 milligrams of
back in the 80s, like Lee Haney and Gasperi, they ran 2 mils of Parabolan a week.
This is 150 milligrams.
No, there were 76 milligram ampules.
Yeah, 152.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked. They grew from that.
Yeah. I jump over to the Halotestin. I've never really liked Halotestin so much. I mean, I know people use it for the texture, skin texture. People use it for the aggression in the gym the last 10 days or something like that. I think if I was going to use it, I would use it, like he said, maybe a little bit further out, start using 20 milligrams a day pre-workout coming into the show. So I actually think he's kind of on point with that. If you're going to use Halotestin to get a look from it, I think if you're waiting to like the last 10 days, I think it's a little bit late. You're kind of looking how you're going to look. I don't think if adding an androgen in like that, maybe you get a little bit fuller, maybe not. His growth hormone is at 4 units. What do you say? Did you say
5 days a week?
5 days a week. Okay. I would use that 7 days a week. There's really no reason to drop your IGF-1 for 2 days.
Actually, I'm going
to bring it back up again.
I'm going to counter that theory. They actually did a study on, and this is, I covered it with T and Clark. They did a study on growth in these kids using growth hormone. And they found that the kids that used growth hormones non-consecutive days, 3 or 4 days a week, grew more than the kids that used it daily. And the other reason is you're less likely to become insulin resistant if you take it a few times a week versus taking it daily. So it's going to work better taking it not every day, and you're less likely to become insulin resistant from it than if you run it all the time.
But you gotta see the context too. If you do it in a prep, you might also want to use it for fat loss. And if you're in a prep, you're in a caloric deficit. He only takes it at night. He also only takes 4 units.
No, he took it in the morning.
I'm just saying that's never going to get him insulin resistant. So, I mean, if he would be like an open guy running like 12.
Actually, I'm going to disagree with you there. I've made myself insulin resistant using 3 units, 4 days a week.
Really?
Yeah, really. This is 100% fact.
According to Kurt Havens, that's
in
lower.
A diet?
That's lower than your.
No. This is over years of.
Okay, I'm talking about contest prep.
Right, but I'm just saying, using it over time, you can become insulin resistant from it, even at small dosages, a few times a week.
According to Kurt Havens' little podcast I watched, he said that if you're using that low of a dose, you're actually taking less than what you would be making naturally. And maybe you're in an age where you're replacing it, but if you're like in your 20s and you're just taking 3 or 4 units, like you're already taking less than what you would be making.
Now, I will say this.
No way.
That's what he said. I think he like did some calculation where he said like you make up to like 5 milligrams a week or 5 IUs a week.
A week or a day?
A week.
Yeah, 5 IUs a week. Yeah.
Sorry,
We're
maybe
talking about
I'm saying it backwards.
4
Maybe
or 3 a day.
I don't know. It's 0.3 per day.
No, we're talking about 4 or 3 a day.
Okay.
So if you're talking about 5 a week, that's way less.
Maybe I misheard him on the podcast what he said, but he was saying
that doesn't make sense.
How much did you say you make a day? Is that what do you know?
I don't know, but I would guess maybe half. Something like that.
Yeah,
half a unit.
Very little.
That's what I would guess.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna find out.
That's a prepubescent kid, or a kid in puberty, making that much.
Yeah, I never looked into the dosage on that.
But there's no way you're making as much as you would taking it, super pharmacologically or whatever you want to call it.
I still don't know why you would get.
Exogenously.
I don't know why you'd get more results with your IGF-1 falling.
You actually,
unless,
like I said,
unless you were getting insulin resistant, but I don't think you get insulin resistant in a contest prep setting.
if you maybe are relatively new to using growth hormone and you're only using it for a contest prep, then you probably won't get that insulin resistant during the prep. But if you're someone who's been taking GH for years
And insulin.
For long periods of time,
Lots of food.
over time, it can make you insulin resistant. I know this for a fact because I did it to myself.
Yeah.
And I've never gone over 3 units. And I've never taken it more than 3 or 4 times a week. And I did it. And in the last 2-3 years, I started running high A1Cs. And I had to take long-acting insulin to bring that to normal.
Are your A1Cs normal now?
As long as I'm taking the insulin. Yeah, but if I take GH and I don't take insulin, man, I get Crohn's flares immediately and I high blood sugar. So,
but do you think you could fix it if you would get off GH and off insulin and do, like, let's say, start doing a very low carb diet, maybe not too low because you want your thyroid not to get messed up.
Well, I take thyroid anyways.
Okay, so you think you could fix that? I think so.
I think maybe it's possible, but I know that, like, first of all, me going on a low carb diet, I'll drop 20 pounds and like immediately.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to do because I don't really have 20 pounds to lose.
Now, it was just more about if you could reverse it, just for the listener, not that I'm like, do that now. Yeah.
I think it's probably possible. And again, it depends on like how long. I've been running GH on and off for 20 years. So at this point in my life, I've got it to where it's like a little bit of GH and a little tiny bit of insulin, and I keep my A1C in range and everything seems to be working right. I don't want to mess with that program right now.
Yeah.
I could probably change it, but I at my age, I don't think it would be for the better.
I mean, if you're balanced out right now and you're like, I don't want to do that diet anyways,
I'm a person, I can't do keto. I have to eat a good amount of calories and carbs every day just to hold on to my weight. And I'm not doing any cardio.
He's total ectomorph.
Yeah. I'll just like shrivel it up to nothing.
Yeah.
My metabolism is just too fast.
Yeah, back to Breon's cycle. I think I would probably change out the test sip at some point coming into the show, probably like a month out. I would change it over to Prop so you have a little more control if you need to lower your test or change the dose, where Cypionate has like a 10-day half-life in your body. The Prop has like a 3-day, and then go to like a daily dose.
Well, I think at the dosage he's using, what did he say?
300 milligrams
a week. With an AI, I doubt if he's going to have too much problem with that dosage of test.
For water retention.
To my knowledge, Cypionate has a 4.5-day half-life.
Oh, does it? I thought
the active life is
10 days.
No, it was at 7 days for Cypionate.
I thought it was
5 days for a Naphthate.
It's 4.5
for Cyp.
Learning something new.
That's interesting because I've always thought to myself, it seems to peak fast and goes down faster than they say, but I was always told it was 7 days. But it never
No,
seems
it spikes even earlier. It spikes like
like right away.
So half-life means half is in, but it doesn't mean that the highest spike is. So the highest spike is like 2.5 days, and then 4.5, 5 days, half is in, and then it goes slowly out. And that's an interesting thing is also like it depends a little bit also which muscle group you inject to. So the bigger muscle groups, they tend to metabolize faster than the smaller ones. So you could extend the half-life a tiny bit if you inject into a smaller muscle group.
I will say something too. It also, the half-life is not concrete because individual response
Different metabolism
is there. I know for myself, because I've had to take different biologics for Crohn's, and we've tested this with blood work. My body and my metabolism, I excrete things and burn through them way faster than a normal person, like half, like twice as fast. Like a certain biologic was supposed to last 3 months, and in me it lasted like 6 weeks.
Doctors also, they oftentimes say that to people when they take SSRIs or something like that, that they should try it out if, because of the metabolism being so different, that not everyone's like, oh, because in vivo, it's like whatever in the lab, that everyone's the same. I kind of feel like also it kind of correlates with people's food metabolism. I feel like people that like have to eat more, they metabolize drugs most of the times faster too.
Well, I think it's everything. Yeah. Your metabolism is faster, so you're eating more food. You're just processing everything faster.
Yeah.
Like I burn through calories fast. I burn through drugs fast. I burn through vitamins fast. Everything's fast.
Yeah.
I also think your training has a lot to do with your metabolism of food and drugs. Like if you're training high intensity really hard, you're going to metabolize those drugs a lot faster than somebody who's not. Because your body's using it. You're using that fuel for growth and repair versus somebody who's just not training that hard. So definitely there I did have done a little experiments with myself. I always leg day I eat extra food, and if I'm gonna take like a tren acetate, it's gonna be like on leg day, the day like before my workout, because after that training session, like I'm so beat up and broken down, and my body's just trying to repair, and so I'm gonna use that up, versus like I'm not gonna do it on an arm day. I'm just not cranking my metabolism like that.
I would change it over personally from sip at probably 4 weeks out to propionate.
I agree with that too, but I'm just saying I think at the low dosage that he's taking, I don't think it makes a huge difference. But his cycle is definitely like a 1990s, early 2000s cycle.
Yeah,
and he just like stuck with that.
I mean, he is an older guy, so he's like 40 something. So maybe he was using it back then.
No, like his first, I think he started competing. What was that? 2010.
That cycle was probably still around that time.
Yeah, he was playing football and doing the acting stuff, always lifting, but the competing started pretty late.
Yeah,
for him.
Well, maybe that's why he's so fresh. When
maybe
he's the
he
age
got
he
that
is.
from Chris Cormier or one of these older time bodybuilders that he works with.
Yeah, probably.
And then we talked about the Nolvadex. I probably wouldn't have in the whole time. I would have in maybe the last 10 days, 7 to 10 days. And the Arimidex, I would kind of just see, because maybe the Masteron and Primo would reduce estradiol enough that it wouldn't be needed. So I would kind of like do as necessary on the AI. Most people are probably going to need it, but he's a genetic freak, so maybe not. Is there anything I missed? I might use Winstrol. I might add in Winstrol
I was surprised he didn't have Winstrol.
Yeah,
I might add that in.
Almost
Maybe the
everybody
last
does Winstrol before.
maybe he
the last
forgot it. Maybe he forgot it.
4 to 6 weeks. Probably for me, 50 milligrams a day. What's the so if we add up all his dosages, his total milligrams weekly, so it's 369 plus he said
I think 1,100 injectables.
Yeah, 10,
I think
11.
I think I ended up 1,300 total.
Plus
at the end.
140 on the 140 on the Halotestin up until 2 weeks out, and then at 2 weeks out he changed to
40
4
milligrams.
times 280.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that? Probably around 1,500. I mean, he's saying he's a low dose guy, and that is kind of low dose, but also like 1.5 grams of androgen.
Yeah, but he's only doing that the last week of the show. Before that, it's
well, no, it's 1.5 grams. I mean, it's 1.3 grams up until, however far out. So that's a decent amount of drugs. I mean, especially for a classic physique guy, I think they can, genetic freaks can get away with maybe using a little less. So, yeah, I think that's, I mean, obviously it works for him. Would he be a little bit drier maybe if he did what Leo was saying and use some of the compounds for the ester, the amount of half-life on their ester? Maybe.
I don't know. He crashed his estrogen anyway, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
Yeah. No, I just mean like the active life's on his injections for his for his test and for his tren.
I tend to go with propionate at the end too instead of sip, but like I said, at the dosage he's running with the amount of AIs he's running, I don't think it makes any difference.
Yeah, just like that's true. He doesn't even have to drop it; he can run it through.
Just run it through. Yeah, at least his stuff would keep working. I hate that last couple weeks when you're all dried out and like all my lifts go to shit.
What is your guys' thought on these people mega dosing Winstrol at the end of the cycle?
I think that's a cement factory thing. I think he does high, and he gets a certain look from guys like. I mean, he was working with Justin a few years ago, and he was getting that real grainy sort of look. So, I mean, I think, God, I would hate to see your liver values after about a month of that.
This guy, Paul Barnett, you know the guy?
I did an interview with him.
Yeah, I've seen him.
So he did that for his show, and he was like texting with Roman Fritz. I just know that because he said it on his own show, not because I was in that chat or something. And Roman was more like saying, just keep it the same. You look great. Mm-hmm. But he was like, no, I want to try this. So I think he ran. What did he run?
I think it was 300.
I think 200 a day. I think 200 a day.
That's a pretty hefty dose. Personally, I wouldn't run it because I probably would stop digesting fats. The way that it works is you take oral steroids and then your gallbladder gets messed up and you stop secreting bile, and bile is what helps you break down fats, and then you are having a real fucking issue digesting food there at the end. I think that's part of the reason why guys get acid reflux like some guys are real toxic and get acid reflux from taking oral steroids. So, I mean, that would, for me personally, if I can't eat or if I'm like digesting food slow because of what I'm taking, that's very counterproductive.
I've never had a food digestion problem from orals for whatever reason.
I thought you said Anadrol gave it to you.
No, Anadrol recently, I didn't use it for many, many years, but I recently tried it. It just made me feel sick.
Yeah.
But it just made me feel sick like immediately. So I just didn't I did it like one day and didn't do it again.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think some guys are just like fucking can push through. I mean, if I feel like hell, I'm not going to look good. I mean, obviously you're going to look like hell when you have zero body fat. Not zero, but like less than 6%.
What I find like on Winstrol, it dries me out like immediately. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying is I look like I took a diuretic.
Yeah.
Like within 24 hours of starting it.
Yeah.
And
well, it gives you...
That's at like 20 milligrams.
It gives you good skin texture. Like the texture of your skin looks really good from... like ready to compete.
But I also know you get like the achy joints and stuff. So
yeah,
I just can't imagine like taking 300 milligrams of Winstrol and trying to train on.
You'd be like that SpongeBob where they took him out of the water and he's just fucking dried out.
I just
on
think,
that much Winstrol.
I just think I couldn't. I don't think I could train on
You'd
that
probably
without
tear something.
tearing shit.
I bet you would tear something.
I have the same view like Larry there. Like if I take Winstrol for show, I start 1 week out. Because I'm like, I try to avoid orals if I can. Because if I don't need to, like, there's so many steroids and they all work. Like, why would I throw in orals for that long?
True.
When for me and for most of the people, like a Winstrol cosmetically works so fast. Like, why do I have to pound it? If I feel like I don't have enough juice in me, I could up something else. So that's just my thinking.
So I like at the end of a prep, I like using a combination of Anavar and Trenbolone.
Oh, interesting.
And it has a synergistic effect, and I'm not sure why, but the Trenbolone gives you more muscle endurance. And what I mean by that is, like, you could just get more reps and sets.
I've never used either of those compounds, actually.
And yeah, it definitely works.
I'm a big fan of DHTs. Like,
And
they work
talking,
well for me.
I'm talking 20 to 40 milligrams a day total. And it does definitely works, those two combined.
I mean, they kind of developed that in East Germany for Olympic athletes, so they did a lot of endurance. Like for swimmers and stuff.
I am a
Even
huge
female
fan of
swimmers
Trenbolone.
took that.
Maybe I should try
And
it.
I hate Dianabol. I fucking hate Dianabol.
Yeah.
I hate it. I can't stand that water. That and mint. That
Oh, mint was
I'm the
terrible.
same.
that bloat.
I'm the same.
That kind of bloat. It does nothing for me.
I wonder, one time when Mint first came out, I think, what was that dude? Tony Huge was all fucking propping it up. So I got all excited. I'm going to try the new steroid, the new thing that's like someone reinvented the wheel. Like, holy shit, it's a new wheel. So I ran it and I actually got really good results on it. I got big. Maybe I was running something else with it. And I don't know. I looked great. Not like shredded, just fucking huge. And then my strength was crazy. And then I came off of it. And a few months later, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to get another level up. And I ran it and I just turned into the fucking Michelin man. I don't know what was different about it, but like I just turned into this bloated fucking mess. I ran my estrogen levels and they were at like fucking 600 or something like that. I was just like a bloated fucking wet mess.
I took it one time and I was like, this is going to be great,
Yeah. I don't know what I did the first time that was different, but Ment, guys, do not run Ment high
People were
dose.
telling me, you're going to get so strong on this.
I ran like
blah,
350
blah,
a
blah,
week.
blah, blah. I tried it and I didn't get any stronger. I just got bloated and I felt like shit.
Yeah, if you want to get gyno, try Ment.
Yeah. And I've never felt that anything that other than Ment and Dianabol. Those two things.
It's so weird. Like, I ran it more often too. And the first time I needed so much AI and I got strong and everything. And then I ran it lower. I need nothing. And I'm like, this can't be real.
What'd you run low? Like 10 milligrams or something?
20 a day.
20 a day.
And then
oral or injectable? Oral or injectable?
Injectable.
Okay.
And then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll switch to another brand, even though this is the brand I ran was like the most like on point ever and with everything. But I'm like, okay, like, let's see, maybe they faked that. I don't know. But the other stuff, same. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like my estrogen sensitivity, just like, I don't know, my body just, it's like it turned on a switch and it's like, we're not reacting to that anymore in that way.
I did it the opposite
wild.
way. I did it the opposite way. I started out good on it, and then I went to crap on it. So, I mean, maybe there's other variables, but this was years ago, so I'm kind of remembering.
But
something.
It's interesting how like I was off for a whole year because I was back bike riding and I wanted to race again. I used to be a road cyclist, and when I got back on, I was so estrogen sensitive from like 200 milligrams of test a week. I would get had to run AI. I almost got a gyno. My nipple got a little sensitive, and I'm like, Jesus.
I can't wait.
And now I don't need an AI anymore.
Yeah.
Like
You you fixed your estrogen. Maybe you just aged a little bit or changed your metabolism. I notice actually now that you say that,
but that's a year ago.
A lot of times
so
when
within 1
guys,
year.
a lot of times when guys get their body fat down, their estrogen problems go away. Like if you get down to where you got like abs and stuff, like you got your where they were like really high estrogen, needed more AIs before, they didn't need them when they were leaner.
That makes sense. I mean, yeah, estrogen metabolizes also in fat tissue. But for me, when I started, I was so shredded. I was bike riding. I was 180 pounds, and I started taking tests again. And like I said, really low, and boom. So I was super low body fat, like maybe 5'6". Like I was muscle and skin, not a lot of muscle, but yeah, it's I don't know. I used to be always very prone and need an AI, and now don't need it.
Yeah, I haven't ever used them. But
I was
I
thinking,
like DHT.
maybe my test is fake, but I got a prescription from the pharmacy, and when I use my prescription test at the same dose, I'm like, no,
just different.
It's the same. Like I'm good. And my estradiol came out 23.
Careful, that might tip.
So yeah.
So for me, it actually was the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
I used to like not produce any estrogen, and over the last 4 or 5 years, my body became more estrogen sensitive. I started aromatizing where I didn't. Now, I will convert to estrogen quick, and
Interesting.
I don't know if that's why by trying to offset the androgens, but I know I used to not need an AI at all, and now I do need a little bit.
That's just how aging goes. Your body changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that with aging. Although, I couldn't tell you why though, because you're not natural. So I could see that if you age naturally and your estrogen goes up, I could say, yeah, that makes sense. But if you are on replacement, why your body reacts differently, I couldn't tell.
It does for sure. Like if my androgens go up, my estrogen goes up, and without an AI, it'll definitely go up.
Yeah.
And it's in direct in response to the amount of androgens. And I don't even take that much. I'm talking like, I said that after the Olympia, I got sick. I had like a flu or something, and I didn't train. I didn't eat hardly, and I didn't take anything for 2 weeks. I went and got blood work. My testosterone was down to 300. My estrogen was low, but my lipids were all screwed up, and my hematocrit and hemoglobin were high. I went back on and got blood work like 4 days later, and all of a sudden my testosterone was like at 1,000, and was it 1,000 or 2,000? I can't remember. It was way out there, and my estrogen was way out there too. It just.
I mean, if you probably run very low dosages right now, have you thought about like exchanging some of your tests just with Primo? And then you have less estrogen conversion and some estrogen.
I can't do any Primo or any DHTs.
Like I just DHTs. He gets.
If I do DHT, like I tried this. What was that stuff called? The you know that one?
Oh, dihydroxyboldenone.
Yeah, I tried that stuff because everybody said this is going to make you more insulin sensitive. You know, you get strong, and it sounded great. I took it, and for 4 weeks, my strength went through the roof. I was getting stronger and stronger. And then at 4 weeks, I hit a wall, and I started, everything in my body hurt. I mean, like debilitating pain. Like all my joints were hurting. I started, like, I got a little tear in my shoulder, and I went off of that. My back hurt, my knees hurt. Like, I mean, really bad. And it took like 6 months for that to go away after going off of it. And the only thing that fixed that was taking a bunch of nandrolone.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I was in so bad pain I couldn't barely train. It was like hell.
The DHB possibly also could have some kidney side effects. Yeah, and so I would stay away from it.
Yeah, I gave it a shot, and I did not. I liked it at first, and then once I was on it about 8 weeks, I started noticing some of those side effects on my blood labs.
Yeah.
So
It's a little overhyped.
What are your
Yeah,
guys'
it's way
thoughts on?
Just use the shit that always worked. Use fucking Primo. Like that's just the best. Just use it.
Yeah.
Use the stuff that's like been around since the 1940s.
Well, for me, Nandrolone is the. I mean, I love Nandrolone.
That's it. I'm the opposite.
I grow on it.
I get Decadick so bad if I use some Nandrolone. Like I get super strong, but I mean I'm just fucking miserable.
So what are your guys' thoughts on like these higher dosages? I know, like personally, I don't agree with it. I think once you get past a certain point, like I don't think it's doing anything better for you.
What do you consider high in dosages of everything?
Some of these guys are talking like taking 4 or 5 grams of gear a week, running 20 units of growth hormone a day. This is what they're promoting.
I think it's stupid, and I don't think. I mean, I could never do it, like just because of my estrogen and everything.
Where are you gonna put that much gear? I mean, that's like
I would
10
feel
milliliters a week. Or like more than that. That's like 30 milliliters a week. Especially if you're using 100 milligrams per milliliter like gear.
Well, there's that one guy.
I know Chase Irons does that. Yeah, Chase Irons does that. But
he's just like an exhibitionist. Like he's just going for like, I don't know what.
But
he's
he
doing.
also at least this guy, he scans himself. Like he monitors himself better than anyone.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's stupid people out there that want to hear exactly what he says. They want to hear that so bad to have like kind of like a confirmation that they should take much.
He's like giving them.
So I hear in his comment sections, I read like, oh, I'm on like 2 grams of EQ and 2 grams of test now, and just like multiple people. I'm like,
just
Jesus
a waste.
Christ! Like I don't know all you guys. You should be open pros winning the Olympia.
They're
if
probably
you
like
even consider that, but you're probably some dad that just gonna die younger and not see his daughter grow up. Like, what the fuck? And you're probably never gonna monitor yourself because they all don't want to spend the money. They all don't have the money.
True.
And they have the money for the gear, but don't ask me about health supplements or blood work.
They're all victim weight. I think that guys want to race to get to the finish line. They don't want to. They might be overestimating their genetics. They might be overestimating, like a Boston Lloyd, what their potential is. They're looking at some of these guys that are taking high doses, and those guys look freaky, and they think that's how they got there. How they got there is the genetics. I mean, it's going to be a fact. When you get bigger, you're going to probably need to start taking more to advance. But I think you jump to the finish line. If you're a 190 pound guy taking your first cycle and you're going to take 2,000 milligrams, I bodybuilded for 15 years. And now I'm up to like 1,800 milligrams, and that's like the high end for me. So I think that like you just gotta know what your level is, and it's not going to be to blow $800 a month on gear.
But do you think it's even effective at all?
I don't even know, because like, look, there's these guys, and there's a bunch of them, and I know some even personally. Dude, there's a bunch of natural guys I know that look better than them, and they run these kind of dosages. Or like, remember this guy Dylan Gemelli? This guy was always like, oh, I ran like 2 grams of this, and I gained like this amount, and like, dude, you're still 150 pounds. Like, what are you talking about? But for real, he was like really 150 pounds, like, and he was not even that
delusional.
The funniest guy. I don't know what happened to him, but it just takes some time, and you just can't advance it that much. And if you're growing like crazy on that, you probably would have grown like crazy anyways.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like that. And as you said, like, at a certain degree, like at a certain level, like if you're taking like 500 total milligrams a week in your off season, yeah, probably not going to happen much, you know. But that's like when you're an open guy. Like most of the people also, like we talked about before, they give way too much credit for the drugs than all the other stuff. Like if the other stuff is not 100%, the drugs will also not work 100%.
Oh, dude, I listen to all these, you know, these podcasts with Vigorous Steve and like all these guys, and people will write in, here's my, here's what I'm doing. My diet's in check. My training's in check. And like, motherfucker, no, it's not. I laugh so hard when I'm like, oh yeah, all these things are in check, but and then the missing piece is you needing to take some cycle recommendation from Vigorous Steve.
Well, look, I'll give you an analogy, okay? Because I can relate to this. When peptides first came out, I think it was in the 90s. I want to say 90s or early 2000s when they became a thing. Mm-hmm. I was like, me and Boston Lloyd were like on the phone daily. We were getting ready for shows. He was getting ready for, I think, Contra Costa. I was getting ready for whatever.
That was probably in like 2008.
Maybe.
Because Boston was so young. He
Yeah.
would have been like a teen. He would have been like a fucking infant
he was
in
getting ready for
1990s.
He was getting ready for Contra Costa, and I was getting ready for whatever I was competing in that year.
Yeah.
And we would talk daily on the phone. And I was using like 5, 6, 7 different peptides because it was like the newest thing. I mean, I was using the IGF-DES in my body parts before every training and after every training session, and all these different peptides, trying to like be like a mad scientist experiment.
You thought you were reinventing the wheel, yeah.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be like, I don't know, like outdo my genetics or whatever with this shit.
Yeah.
What I found out is the peptides, aside from BPC and 157 TB500, I think the other ones are kind of worthless. I mean, there is the tanning one, the melatonin. That does definitely works. But like the growth hormone secreting peptides, I didn't find them to do shit hardly.
I mean, I think they do shit, but I think that
not for bodybuilding.
I think that they do stuff, but if you are trying to get bodybuilding results from them, then you're not. If you're trying to get growth hormone results from a growth hormone secretagogue, you're not. If you're trying to get like maybe some anti-aging and you can't source growth hormone and you can only get it from one of these peptide websites and that's your best option, maybe that's your best option. But otherwise, if you're going to spend it's like the same amount of money anyways by the time you like do a cycle of these CJCs and all that stuff. Like just do real growth hormone.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
But I'm saying just at that time, you know, like we're injecting 4 or 5 times a day of things.
Well, the way that you know that was bullshit is because it's not still around. Like people did it for 5 years and then it quit doing it. The stuff that sticks around, people keep doing.
Well, we did it, and like I said, it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
That IGF-DES
bullshit.
I didn't grow anything from it. I used it in my arms and shoulders before every training session. Nothing happened from that. Like nothing happened from that.
Yeah. I mean,
but I'm saying there's a mentality of just like
wanting to experiment and reach further than anyone has.
Different drugs and taking more drugs and different kinds of drugs.
Yeah.
And thinking, you know, like this is going to like change things in a big
this
way.
This is the secret ingredient.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
get back to the peptides. I think there's very great peptides.
Yeah.
But not for like anabolic purposes.
No.
More like for healing, for skin, for digestion. There are some good ones.
Yeah.
Like just anti-inflammatory. So like your joints might not hurt and all those things. And like a stromarelin or something, that's something that a Huberman takes who does like a neuro podcast or something, or some dad or so, you know, or some guy who's on an HRT protocol, but that's nothing for performance enhancement in a bodybuilding.
That's something
Well, I remember when I was young, I had a box of various stuff, and someone told me about something. I don't even remember what it was at this point, but it was like some very exotic drug. to get, that it was going to like be a big difference.
Was it a contest prep drug?
Yeah.
I think I know what it was. Yeah. It was that, like, it's like a prostaglandin PGF2A.
Whatever.
It made you fucking shit your ass.
Yeah, but no, this was something else that you took more regularly. But whatever it was, I was convinced that this thing was going to make a difference. And for some reason, my mom decided to clean my room one day, and she threw the box away. And I came home and it was gone. And then it was like, what the fuck? I about lost my fucking mind.
It's probably expensive to get.
Whatever it was like, oh my God, you like ruined my whole contest prep. I like, where is this thing?
And nothing changed after. Nothing changed.
Digging, I don't even remember what it was at this point, because whatever it wasn't important.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I was like, oh my God, I lost this thing. I'm like digging through the trash. Where is it gone?
Like an addict.
Oh, man. All right. Go ahead.
So, yeah, just to wrap it up, like, I really don't think like these super high dosages do anything for the better. And if anything, you're just going to get more side effects.
I would say for a beginner, probably around up to 500. And then once you get more advanced, up to 1,000. And once you get to pro level, probably up to 2,000 is like about as optimal as I've seen. I've talked to a lot of guys, and that's about as optimal as I've seen. I think that you should use the minimal effective dose that you can as you're coming up. I don't think that just jumping to 2,000 isn't going to turn you into a pro. You gotta climb the ladder. You got to build the house from a foundation. And I think that like, you just got to like take every step of the way. So the first step is take nothing and learn how to train and eat. And the next step is eventually take a 300 to 500 milligram dose for probably, I didn't go above 500 for like,
just like food, your body can only use a certain amount of drugs, depending on how much muscle you have.
Yeah, you got to train to develop those new muscle cells, and those new cells, the new androgen receptors, got to have some place to grow in.
Right, and how hard you're training. So if you're a new guy and you have 150 pounds of lean weight, taking 2 grams of gear is not going to do anything for you, because your body can't use up that much gear. It's just like saying that same guy is going to try to eat 9,000 calories of clean food a day.
Yeah, he's just going to get
it's not possible.
Digestion issue.
It is possible to put that much gear in you, but your body can't handle it.
Yeah, it's just kind of like filling a cup that's already full. There's no reason.
So like, yeah, if you're taking a Samson Data, who's almost 300 pounds on stage, his ability to use gear is going to be way greater than even a 200-pound 212 competitor, because he's got 100 pounds more muscle on him.
Yeah, there's definitely a genetic factor, but I mean, you gotta stay in your lane.
And I'm not saying Samson Data has to take 6 grams either. I'm just saying he's going to be able to tolerate more
because there's more.
Because he's a bigger person.
And the only way to grow into that is to put in your time in the gym, put in your time, consistency over time.
Yeah, you're not gonna throw that 100 pounds of muscle on in a year. No matter what you take.
It's kind of like protein. You eat as much protein like calculated per pound of lean body mass.
Exactly.
It's kind of works.
Yeah.
Per pound of lean muscle, you could take 10 milligrams, whatever. Just coming out with some number.
No, that's a good analogy, because it's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're just taking more and more shit, your body's going to have to excrete it in some kind of way, which means your kidneys and your liver is going to have to work harder to get that out of your system, because it's got to come out.
Yep.
So, all right, you want to wrap it?
Yeah. So that's again, Larry Pollock, Luke Carroll from Underground from Gym Podcast. Go ahead and Leo, give your contact and information and how people can reach you.
Yo, my name is Leo Mayerhofer, and I'm the host of the Overcome podcast. You can find it on YouTube. It's actually even on Spotify, on Instagram, and also Austrian Powers on all platforms. So I have 2 YouTube channels. And I hope you're gonna check it out and subscribe as well to this channel if you haven't already. Comment here too. Leave us a like. Leave us some questions. And Larry and Luke, most of all, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Boom.
I believe that the fires were cast upon, on the flames we shall become. I believe in a common calling, where our temples pray as one.